Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of And Yet We Believe. My name is Roger Pimentel.
And my name is Anne.
And we are a married couple having honest conversations about the beautiful, messy middle of Latter-day Saint life. What are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day is in a few days for us at the time of this recording. And so it's on my mind.
I guess so.
Yeah. So I have had a variety of experiences for Mother's Day at church.
Yeah.
At home, it's great. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good day. But at church, it has been a roller coaster for sure.
Okay. And you're a, dare we say, like, traditional mother in the sense that you are married, you have children children in the home. Like, you check a lot of boxes for, like, the norm or the, I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, from the outside, I have the ideal motherhood
There
life.
we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And so, yeah, it should work for me, right? And alas, it does not. So we want to talk about what Mother's Day at church is like. Because it's not inclusive of everybody. There's a lot of hard feelings on that day. Some women don't even come. So we actually did some polls on our Instagram accounts, and let's get into some of the numbers just for if we like celebrating Mother's Day at church.
Yeah, so we asked for some feedback on Instagram, and boy, did you all come through.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So we have a ton of comments. There's no way we're going to get to everybody's thoughts on this. But we did ask some, like you said, kind of poll questions. We had more than 500 responses on each of these questions. And the first one is, do you like celebrating Mother's Day at church? And the results, 35% said yes, they like celebrating Mother's Day at church. 65% said no.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that, just off the cuff?
I mean, if women were actually listened to at church, then we wouldn't be doing this at church, right?
Right.
I mean, the probably most well-known thought is Mother's Day is not a religious holiday. It's not a worldwide holiday.
Right.
At least not in May. Like, other countries might celebrate mothers, but not at the same time that we do. So this is a very American-centric celebration, one that really has no place at church.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with Jesus.
Even that all said, I was surprised at the tilt on this 35% yes, 65% no. As somebody who works with data, I feel like I need to qualify, like, this is not representative of the whole church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a convenient sample of our followers on Instagram who are going to skew more nuanced.
Yeah.
And so we'd expect a little more of that still. This is pretty tilted that way.
Yeah. And then our next question was, do you want to see change in how Mother's Day is celebrated at church?
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
Right.
So if it has to stick around, do you want to see change? And what were the numbers?
80% said yes, I want to see change. And then 20% no. So, I mean, this kind of echoes the prior question. There's a lot going on here with, I don't like how Mother's Day is being celebrated, and I want it to change. 80% said they want it to change.
Yeah. And we'll get into some of those details and comments from everybody later in the episode. But, I mean, that is pretty telling.
That's substantial. Yep.
Yeah. And, of course, it's going to vary depending on your ward, how your ward handles it. I talked to people who... like their ward would not allow second hour to just be a social hour for the women, when that's really what women want. And we'll get into that later.
We'll get back to that one, yeah.
And some wards will not allow that. And so, like,
yep,
that's a pretty big thing. And if they're not listening to the women, again, I think this goes back to, are we actually listening to the women in the church? And it definitely feels like the answer is no.
Yeah. So the third question was, do you attend church on Mother's Day? And on this one, we had 76% said yes, and 21% said no, and another 3% said sometimes. So we're at kind of like a 75-25. A quarter of the respondents to this said they don't attend church on Mother's Day.
Yeah. And I kind of wish there was a like yes and, because I attend the first hour and then I'll see how I feel about the second hour. So I even texted my Relief Society president today and I said, do you know what the talks are going to be and the lesson in second hour? Because I get anxious about what's going to be talked about and how it will be handled. And I told her, this will help me with my anxiety. And I just wanted to be upfront with her because I don't want to go into a situation where I'm going to feel hurt or angry on Mother's Day. Like, why would I put myself, why would I put myself into that situation?
Right.
So still waiting for a response. I mean, she responded, she's checking and she'll respond to me.
Okay. Got it. But I think every single one of us knows a woman who Mother's Day is not great for. And probably most of us know somebody who doesn't go on Mother's Day. I know we sure do. We have family that fall into that bucket where it just wasn't worth going on Mother's Day anymore.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the women who Mother's Day is a struggle for. Clearly, the first one is going to be women struggling with infertility or pregnancy loss, or who have never had children in the first place. In our church, motherhood, I mean, we're told motherhood is our highest calling.
Right.
And family is obviously a huge talking point in the church. And for these women who have never had it or have been trying and they keep being told no by the universe.
Right.
That focus on motherhood and family is devastating to them. I mean, we can't really even describe the heartache that would come with that.
Right. And this goes all the way back to, I mean, we're studying the Old Testament this year. This goes back to Adam and Eve, and they're commanded to multiply and replenish the earth. And not everybody gets that chance. And that's what sets this up here. We get so anchored on like, oh yeah, this is our commandment. And for all of those that actually works for, we say, great, let's carry this flag. And not everybody can.
Yeah. And it makes me think when people are speaking over the pulpit or in class or whatever, even in comments, and they say things like motherhood is our greatest calling, or, motherhood is so important, or, your greatest happiness is going to be from your children, just things like that. And they don't add anything, or, like they're just speaking in very exclusionary terms. And to think, even like in Relief Society, I was sitting next to a young woman. She's, 21, 22, a couple of weeks ago. And the teacher said, I mean, you're all mothers. You know what it means. And she goes, she just kind of whispered to herself, not all of us.
Yeah.
And it's just an exclusionary thing that I don't think we realize we're doing sometimes because that vocabulary that Mormons speak is so easy to come out.
Yep. Now, another category here is those women who don't have a good relationship with their own mother. And this comes through especially when we have these kind of saccharine, sweet talks on Mother's Day in sacrament meeting about like somebody talking about their angel mother and how their mother gave so much and never complained and
never yelled.
Because
that's not true life. I'm sorry, but right? I don't know a single mother who's never raised her voice.
Right, and we get these kind of romanticized images of motherhood and somebody painting this picture of their childhood and their perfect mother and that sort of a thing. And for those who have been in situations of abuse or neglect or addiction or no mother in the home or these sorts of things, Mother's Day is bringing up grief. It's complicated. It's painful. This is just another audience that is not appreciating what's being done on Mother's Day at church.
Yeah. And I mean, it is understandable when people in that situation don't want to come to church.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's hard when all the talks are focused on the speaker's mother, who maybe none of us know, and none of us really care to know all these details about that person's mother.
Not super interesting.
And then you hear all of the lovely things, and you're like, well, isn't your life wonderful?
Right.
And this is coming from two people who love their mothers, and
Absolutely.
we have great mothers, but we realize that is not the case for everybody. And we need to understand that and make some exceptions, or like some space for people who struggle in that way.
Yeah. Another group here is single women who wanted to be married, wanted children, probably were taught these things through young women, all their lives. This is what your goal is. This is what your purpose is. And we get some of these almost placating kind of talks about, oh, well, everyone's a mother.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
We're all mothers in our own ways.
We've heard this one, right?
Yeah.
This one showed up a bunch in the comments that we got from our polls. Someone said, I am so tired of being told I'm a mother just because people want to celebrate Mother's Day at church. I'm not a mother, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So we got a number of comments that were just like that.
Yeah, and then when often a ward will hand out a gift to all the mothers, and they say, any woman over 18, make sure to get your gift on the way out the door. And it's like, this is a Mother's Day gift. I don't want to take it, I even don't take those sometimes when they're like, take it. I'm like, I don't want your smelly soap. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like we need to do pointless gifts.
Yep.
And force them onto people who aren't mothers and don't want them.
Yep.
So another group that I think probably most mothers fall into is the mothers who feel unseen, depleted, or like they're failing. That, every Sunday I show up that way. And so to be put on a pedestal for this one day a year and say, mothers are amazing, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know what it's like to be the mother of my children.
Right.
Not that my children are horrible or anything, but like, it's hard and it's exhausting. And to be, just to have this like facade put up about motherhood, it doesn't serve anybody. And it makes me just feel worse. I saw one of the comments that we got said, I go away feeling more weighed down instead of inspired and lifted up.
Oh, yep.
And that, I think that's kind of normal, unfortunately, for women to come away feeling like they're just not doing enough.
Oh, man. Maybe a couple more comments that we got. Someone said, I skipped church on Mother's Day. My mom died when I was little, and I hate having to go sit in my grief. I don't think we think about that kind of thing so often. Another one, Mother's and Father's Day talks and get-togethers seem to just address those who fit the Mormon mold. It auto-excludes so many.
Yep.
And I think that includes, I think this is really interesting, the category that you just talked about, which is mothers who feel like they're not measuring up in some way, because that's not even one of these categories where like, abuse or neglect or can't have kids or, all of these things that kind of push someone to the margins. But this is any mom who even looks like they fit that mold from the outside that maybe aren't appreciating that day at church.
Yeah. Yeah. I would really love, an experience at church where, whether it was over the pulpit or in a class, where they said, who in here has experienced or knows a mother who has never had children? Or a woman who has never had children.
Right.
Who knows or has experienced the loss of a child? Who knows or has experienced yelling at their children? And just tons and tons and tons. And every woman would raise their hand probably for every single thing.
That's true.
And that would feel real to me. That would feel authentic. That would be unifying between the women.
It really would.
That would be vulnerable. And that's what I want to experience at church, is unifying vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because that's human. That's real. And it's not this fake thing of put me on a pedestal and look at how great I am, because that's never going to happen.
So let's talk about the pedestal thing, because this came through so strong in the comments that we got from all of you on Instagram, using that word over and over again, pedestalizing. And I'll read a few of them. Actually, this first one, I feel like really encapsulates it.
Okay.
And has a little, it's got a little mustard on it. It's it's a good one. I get tired of the pedestalizing of mothers. It feels like a bone thrown at women once a year, so we won't notice they don't care about us the rest of the year. I don't want once a year praise. I want women to have decision-making authority in the church.
Amen, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Right? That one absolutely goes for it.
For reals.
But this showed up again and again. Here's another one. I hate the way we pedestalize motherhood and only talk about perfect moms. It's so fake. And this is what you're talking about with vulnerability and you know,
real life experiences.
Real life, yeah. And then this one as well, I really liked. Mother's Day at church is a continuation of the pedestalization of women and continues to center them as primarily wives and mothers and not whole beings. And then this part, I cope by lowering my expectations to almost nothing.
Oh, gosh.
Zing! So either show up on Mother's Day at church with zero expectations or like so many don't show up at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. And I mean, every conference talk that brings up motherhood or, you know, mothers in any way is this pedestalization. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Pedestalization of motherhood and of women. And for me, and this is maybe getting into maybe our next topic, for me to be in a church where we have a doctrine of Heavenly Mother and we don't talk about her, we don't bring her up. So many women ask, can we talk about Heavenly Mother on Mother's Day? And they are told no. And then to show up and say, oh, mothers are so important and they're so valuable and we love them so much, but we can't talk about our own collective mother.
Yep.
That ticks me off so much. Like, I feel so much rage in me when we don't even acknowledge our own doctrine.
This is a straight up logical fallacy.
It is. Why would I think that I'm important to you if you won't even acknowledge Heavenly Mother?
And this is one of the themes that came through most strongly in the comments that we got on Instagram. I kind of want to read a bunch of these. Can I kind of rattle these off?
Yeah, let's do it.
I am deeply troubled by how much of Mother's Day at church is based on our doctrine that gender is eternal, but Heavenly Mother is hardly mentioned. Next one. Also, I need to hear about my Heavenly Mother on this day. Less about him and more about her, please.
Yes, can I just interject? How many of our wards sing "Oh My Father" on Mother's Day? Because there is one little line of acknowledging Heavenly Mother, which is great. I love it. But the song is called "Oh My Father." And 3 of the 4 verses are about, 3.5 of the 4 verses are about the Father. I love Heavenly Father. It's not his day.
The irony is overwhelming.
It's so ridiculous.
On that one.
I love singing that song. I hate singing it on Mother's Day. Like, it's one that I almost won't sing on Mother's Day. I'll sing that little line, and then I'm silent for the rest of it.
There you go.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, a few more of these. Would be nice to acknowledge Heavenly Mother one time a year, for crying out loud.
Oh, such small, like the bar is so low.
Every year is a missed opportunity to honor Heavenly Mother. If we're going to talk about motherhood, let's talk about Heavenly Mother. And then no preaching on how to be better mothers. Focus on Heavenly Mother.
Yeah.
So, there you have it.
It's not that hard. I mean, it's our own doctrine. If
Right.
it was some, like, weird thing that other Christian religions did, but we don't, maybe I understand that, but I just don't get it.
Yep.
And even in the Gospel Topics essay, Elder Rudger Clausen says we honor woman when we honor her eternal prototype.
Right.
So if we're not honoring Heavenly Mother, we are not actually honoring women.
That's powerful.
That was in like 1910, and we still can't do it.
Has not clicked in yet. It's not there.
Yeah. So I think that, well, actually, one more thing on Heavenly Mother. And let's talk about this a little bit too, that when we talk about women in the church, it is equal to motherhood, right? Women is motherhood.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so if you're not a mother, you're automatically left out. Even talking about Heavenly Mother, which I want, we only talk about her as a mother, right?
Oh,
when Elder
okay.
Ballard, Russell Ballard, I knew that was wrong, said that Heavenly Mother she made the plan of salvation, created the plan of salvation with Heavenly Father. So she is a creator. She is a scientist. She is a designer. Like, all of the things about the plan of salvation was both of our heavenly parents.
Yeah.
And so she is more than just a mother, right? But that's all we talk about. And I mean, if we really wanted to get into the history and the weird fringe doctrine of multiple heavenly mothers and the like making babies up in heaven and it just all sorts of weird things,
no,
we
thanks.
could go there, but we don't want to go there. But this idea of, we have a heavenly mother who is such a perfect example of being an equal partner with Heavenly Father, and yet we only talk about her as Heavenly Mother.
And it's so much the same, and maybe this is the point you're making, that's what happens to women in the church as well. You only get seen as a mother, and if you're not a mother, then you're not seen. And even if you are a mother, it means you're not being seen as anything else.
Right. So the entire framework tends to collapse womanhood into motherhood. And even that tracks with the scriptures. Most women that are mentioned in the scriptures are only mentioned because of the children that they have or who they are married to.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I can think of two off the top of my head that are not talked about because of their motherhood. That is Deborah, the prophet, and Jael. Their story, it mentions that Deborah is married, but it doesn't say anything about her spouse. And she is the prophet, like she's the judge of Israel and the important one. And it mentions Jael's husband as well, that he was friends of the king, but that just gives her like context in the story of who she is. But she goes off and does her thing with a tent stake and it doesn't mention anything about being a mother. Right?
Wow.
It's assumed that both of them were, because that gave you status and security in that time. But I mean, think through all the women in the scriptures, most of them, I mean, in the New Testament, you get a few others like the women with the issue of blood and, some of the women that were raised from the dead or the woman caught in adultery. Like there are a few stories maybe that don't connect to another person, but most of them, it is about motherhood. And so it's really no surprise that we are just collapsed into woman equals mother. And that's all that is paid attention to.
And so, quick plug, if you don't know the story of Jael, go look it up. It's absolutely worth your time.
Yeah, she's a sassy lady.
Now, I want to acknowledge that, sometimes when we talk about things that are taught in the church or that get kind of lodged into the culture of the church, some people disagree with that and will say, that's not true. That's not how women are seen in the church. That's not my experience. I hope that is not your experience. But we absolutely get taught these things, and we get taught them with conviction, and they do get locked into the culture. And so you can dispute it all you want, and you can say, oh, well, they don't teach that anymore.
Yeah.
That was, President Benson, 40 years ago or whatever. And you can say they don't teach that anymore. That's almost irrelevant because culturally that's how it is.
Right. So it's very similar, I think, to the race issue in the church, where for so long, really bad, backwards thinking racial things were taught. And that is, it fed into the race ban, the priesthood and temple ban for Black members of the church. And then it just stopped, right? We get the revelation, the restoration of priesthood, and they did not spend the same amount of time, like they taught it for a number of years, and they did not spend that number of years unteaching it.
Right.
Saying we were wrong, we said the wrong things, this is not actually what we believe, here's the correct belief. They didn't unteach it. And so there were so many horrific things that were said about women and motherhood from the early church leaders.
What their role is. I mean,
very narrow-minded things.
Right. And, within recent decades, within a lot of our lifespans, talking about whether women should or should not work outside the home.
Right.
And those things get lodged into the culture because they have not been explicitly walked back.
Exactly. And now we're getting things like Camille Johnson saying, well, I was a lawyer for so many years. And she was a lawyer in school, maybe during the time when President Benson gave that horrific talk to the mothers in Zion, saying, don't work outside of the home.
Yeah.
And, and she just was like, I'm going to be a lawyer, and then there's other experiences like the church just did this post about the man supporting his wife while she goes through med school. And, that's that again, it's like the church is saying sort of passively, like, yeah, work outside of the home, but we're not being taught that. That's not an explicit thing we're just suddenly supposed to realize like, oh yeah, I can work outside the home and the church supports it. So yeah, it's, and to comment on what you said though, of things being said a long time ago and not being used anymore. I found, I went looking for that Elder Benson talk, and the place that I found it.
By the way, don't go looking for that talk.
Don't go looking. Yeah. You don't want to read it. I didn't actually read it because I found it in an Eternal Marriage Student Manual that is still being used.
The Institute Manual.
Yeah, that manual has the talk in it. And it is still being used.
Yikes.
And this manual just had like different topics, and then it would have tons of quotes from church leaders. And they were all old and outdated. I got so ragey reading through those. I just read a couple like women's roles and family something. I just read a couple of the topics, and I had to stop because I was like, oh, I'm going to throw something. It was not good. So yes, they were said a long time ago. Yes, we should think that they are outdated, but a lot of them are still being used in manuals that we have right now.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal.
It's not okay.
Okay. I want to shift gears just a little bit because we did get comments from women that find genuine value in Mother's Day. And so I want to acknowledge this group too. It's not all negative. Here's a couple of the comments that we got. My husband died from cancer when my kids were all under 5. Mother's Day at church meant I actually got a break. If it wasn't for the church, I would have gotten nothing.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think Mother's Day should be celebrated because too many women won't get celebrated at home. And women are rarely the focus in any church setting. And so, like, is it a travesty that women are only getting recognized, one Sunday a year in church? Yes. Is
Absolutely.
One better than 0? That's what this person is saying here.
Well, it's interesting because I actually got a comment that said, if women aren't being acknowledged at the home, the church should not take place of that. Like women should be acknowledged at home, and it's not the church's job to do that, which I thought was interesting, and kind of is the exact opposite of what that woman
that's really
is saying.
Interesting.
So
we did get a number of comments that are more like this one that's kind of playing both sides, and it said, I still want to be celebrated and appreciated, but I think that we can be more tactful in the way we approach it. And that was a strong theme.
Yeah. I did see somebody that said, it feels like the day is more about treats from the steak or the word or whatever, and not about anything that's actually inclusive or helpful. So, yeah. I think that if we talk about what do we actually want to see, what's the best idea, how can we change this to do something that's better and more inclusive? Overall, what I saw was talk about Heavenly Mother, talk about women from the Bible, because those stories are left out all year round, and so why don't we have talks about them? Or somebody even said, I just want to talk where they only quote women. Nice. Again, very low bar.
Yeah.
But it never happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens when I talk because that's a goal of mine to just quote women. I know a few people that do that, but yeah, it's not a common thing that we hear.
We asked around quite a bit, asked some friends, and a lot of people said, I don't know if you can thread the needle on Mother's Day at church. Can you get the talks to be in such a way that nobody gets left out? And a lot of people said, I don't know if you can. I think it's lose-lose.
If you are focusing on motherhood, then yes, you will always leave someone out. If you actually just talk about Jesus, you'll be fine.
And we got comments about that. Let's go to the comments. If we could honor mothers while still keeping it Christ-centered, I may feel less weird about it. About Mother's Day in general, someone said, unnecessary at church, focus on Jesus.
Yeah, somebody said, if they just said over the pulpit, like, welcome to church and happy Mother's Day for those who celebrate. Now on to our Jesus talk, or, whatever. Right. That's fine. It's acknowledged. The women that want to hear it, and we move on to Jesus.
And I like this one, too. I don't want anything related to Mother's Day at church. Jesus at church, mom stuff at home.
Interesting.
And so this raised for me the question of, okay, so this is not a religious holiday. Why are we celebrating this at church?
Yeah.
And, We don't celebrate Valentine's Day at church. And, there are other, St. Patrick's Day. These are not things that come up at church. So why do we need Mother's Day and Father's Day at church? I think the principle here is sound. Mm-hmm. But again, if we're talking about a lose-lose situation, if we suddenly took Mother's Day away from church, people would be bothered by that too. I don't think we could yank it out smoothly.
Yeah. I mean, especially if we left Father's Day. That would be really bad.
No, we can get rid of Father's Day.
Every day is Father's Day.
Yeah, right. Oh boy. Okay. So anyway, I do think it's lose-lose in that sense. That said, we did hear one or two things that did seem to thread the needle that women seem to appreciate, at least the ones who brought it up. I don't want to speak for all women, but we did get at least one thing for second hour that seemed to resonate.
Yeah, that is food and socializing.
So no lesson.
No lesson. Why? I mean...
Well, and I think this is super important because you kind of take away the platform for people to get left out. Mm-hmm. Or for somebody to say something wrong or offend somebody or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it honors women.
We get to socialize and get to know each other. I mean, that's good.
That's great. A lot of wards have the men cover the primary and these sorts of things, so women can come into Relief Society. I thought that was kind of everywhere. I talked to some people today, and they said, no, our ward doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of wards do.
Yeah, I think that's becoming more commonplace.
Yeah. So some of the comments on that: my ward growing up always had cheesecake for all the women during second hour.
Hey, I'm down.
That seems solid.
I mean, unless you're lactose intolerant or you're on a diet or, there are things also that you need to...
Leaving people out.
Yeah,
dang it.
You need to be aware.
This one, our ward does a brunch during second hour. No lesson, just all the women who would normally not be able to talk due to other callings, now actually being able to attend Relief Society.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty common. We had in our Washington ward, there was a bakery... pastry chef, and he made little tiny eclairs that were shaped like swans.
It's unbelievable.
Year. And then there was tons of other food, and it was so good.
Yeah.
But again, I heard somebody say that one year for Father's Day, the bishop's wife hand decorated these cookies, and they were all really fancy and immaculate, and it took her hours and hours and hours, and she said, nobody does that for us on Mother's Day. And I was kind of thinking, well, this guy did make swans for the women this one year. And we made muffins for Father's Day one year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So, having a ward member make stuff for whatever day it is I think, common.
Yeah.
Instead of, just buying a fruit platter or a cheese platter or whatever.
Right.
But I don't think... what the food is matters as much as is everybody able to partake and are there options for everybody? And can we actually sit and talk with each other?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I remember kind of vividly sitting in a ward council meeting. This was a number of years ago, and Mother's Day was coming up, and the bishop said, okay, so Mother's Day is coming up, and the Relief Society president told me in no uncertain terms what will happen on Mother's Day and what we need to execute. And he was kind of weirded out by it. He was like, well, why aren't we, in charge of this or whatever. But I saw in that a Relief Society president had been burned in the past.
Yeah.
And actually what she was asking for is what we're describing, which is there's going to be food, there's going to be mingling. That's what it's going to be. You need to provide this, 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 and this. And should she have to do that? No. But also I'm glad that she spoke up if that was what was going to work for the sisters in the ward.
Yeah. And one thing we didn't talk about that I just want to mention, we've been in a ward where all of the sacrament talks on Mother's Day were given by men. Mm-hmm. And then the bishop came in and taught the Relief Society lesson as well. And I was like, I do not want to hear from a single man on this day unless it's not about mothers. If you're talking about motherhood, why would you have a man talk about motherhood? He has no lived experience. He can only talk about his mother or watching his wife if he's married.
Right.
That's it. Yep. And I would much rather hear from women. And somebody did say, well, this was a man in a bishopric, and he said, we've tried asking women and they say no, or they don't want to, they don't want to do something on that day. And that kind of breaks my heart that women don't want to stand up and advocate for other women.
Mm-hmm.
I would volunteer every Mother's Day if I needed to give a talk, and to just have it be women focused instead of a man talking to me. I don't need it.
Yep. So the things that came through strongest that actually work on Mother's Day is a first hour where talks are about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked what you said about maybe acknowledge Mother's Day, but we don't need to have the talks. That's too much platform. There's too many mistakes that can be made and are made over and over and over again every single year.
Yeah.
And then the second hour, this kind of social hour, have some food. Again, we're not going to overburden Mother's Day with a bunch of other stuff and a lesson, and especially not, a man going in to teach Relief Society, for crying out loud. But those are the things that have come through from the women who commented on Instagram.
Yeah. And if you're going to talk about women at all, talk about womanhood and not motherhood, right? You can even talk about Jesus and talk about all of the times in Scripture where Jesus has feminine qualities, right?
That's super interesting.
Why would that be a bad talk? I think that would be great.
Yeah. I even liked the suggestion. Somebody said, let's not do Mother's Day, but let's do International Women's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so change it. So it really is about all women. And it's not about like a subset, an exclusive subset that leaves people left out.
And it's International Women's Day for our international church. That makes more sense.
Bingo.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, we're talking about the hard things of Mother's Day. Everybody's going to feel different. Like we said earlier, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. You can never help or make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And so I think that honoring women means honoring all of their different parts, right? Honoring the messy
honoring
life.
The diversity.
Yeah. Every experience is worth honoring and acknowledging and actually helping women to feel seen. And that being said, if it's just that one day out of the year that a woman feels seen, then we've got more work to do.
Yep. And I think we could say that across the board. We've got more work to do.
Yep.
And judging by, again, those numbers at the beginning, 80% of the women who responded wanted to see Mother's Day change at church, see something be different so people aren't left out, so people aren't leaving church on that day feeling heavier than when they came. That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you celebrate Mother's Day, I hope you have a good one.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. You can find us on Instagram. As always, I'm at From the Overflow.
And I am at The Vision Beautiful.
And we will see you next time.
See ya.